Good morning, grade 8 students. So welcome to Information Communication Technology 8. So our topic this morning is all about evaluate hazard and risk. Computer workstation ergonomics. There are various health problems associated with the regular use of computers, such as stress, eye strain, and injuries to wrist, neck, and back rather. Employers must take steps to protect employees whose work involves the regular use of computers. Computer ergonomics is the discipline of matching the task to the worker using the most appropriate equipment to optimize human well-being and overall performance. This can be simplified to modify the workplace, not the individual. Work surface height. Adjust the height of the work surface and or the height of the chair so that the work surface allow your elbows to bend at 90 degrees, forearms parallel with the floor, wrists straight, shoulders relaxed. Chair. Adjust the seat tilt so that you are comfortable when you are working on the keyboard. Usually, they will be close to horizontal, but some people prefer the seat tilted slightly forwards. Your knees should be bent at a comfortable angle and greater than 90 degrees flexion. If this places an uncomfortable strain on the leg muscles, or if the feet do not reach the floor, then a footrest should be used. The footrest height must allow your knees to be bent at 90 degrees. Therefore, the height of the footrest may need to be adjustable. Adjust the backrest so that it supports the lower back when you are sitting upright. Keyboard placement. Place the keyboard in position that allows the forearms to be close to the horizontal and the wrist to be straight. That is, when the hand in line with the forearm. If this causes the elbows to be held far out from the side of the body, then we check the work surface side. Some people prefer to have their wrists supported on a wrist desk and or the desk. Be careful not to have the wrist extended or bent in up position. Screen placement. Set the eye to screen at the distance that permits you the most easily focus on the screen. Usually, this will be within an arm length. Set the height of the monitor so that the top of the screen is below eye level, and the bottom of the screen can be read without a marked inclination of the head. Usually, this means that the center of the screen will need to be near shoulder height. Eyes must be level with the toolbar. People who wear bifocal or multifocal lenses will need to get a balance between when they see out of their lenses and avoid too much neck flexion. Desktop layout. Please place all controls and task materials within a comfortable reach of both hands so that there is no unnecessary twisting of any part of the body. Most people prefer the document holder to be between the keyboard and the monitor. There are many different types of document holder available. Document holder. Place this close to the monitor screen in the position that causes the least twisting of inclination of the head. Posture and environment. Change posture and frequent intervals to minimize fatigue. Avoid the awkward posture at the extremes of the joint range, especially the wrist. Take frequent short rest breaks rather than infrequent longer ones. Avoid sharp increases in work rate. Changes should be gradual enough to ensure that the workload does not result in excessive fatigue. After long, After prolonged absences from work, the overall duration of periods or keyboards with work should be increased gradually if conditions permit. Lighting. Place the monitor to the side of the light source, not directly underneath. Try to sight desk between rows of lights. If the lighting in fluorescent strip lighting, the sides of the desk should be parallel with the lights. Try not to put the screen near a window. If it is unavoidable, ensure that neither the screen nor the operator faces with the window. The solution is to increase the refresh rate of the monitor to at least 75 Hz. If the monitor is well away from windows, there are no other source of bright light, and prolonged desk work is the norm. Use a low level of service light to handle looks. If there are strongly contrasting light levels, then a moderate level of lighting of 400 to 500 lux may be desirable. Glare and reflection. It is important to detect the presence of glare and reflection. To determine whether there is a glare from overhead lights while seated, work should be held on objects such as a book above the eyes at eyebrow level and establish whether the screen image becomes clearer in the absence of overhead glare. To detect whether there are reflections from the desk surface, the worker should hold the book above the surface and assess the change in reflected glare from the screen. Using a mouse. A well-designed mouse should not cause undue pressure on the wrist and forearm muscles. A large bulky mouse may keep the wrist continuously bent at an uncomfortable angle. Pressure can be reduced by releasing the mouse at frequent intervals by selecting a slim-line, low-profile mouse. Keep the mouse as close as possible to the keyboard, elbow bent and close to the body. Posture during keying. Good posture is essential for all users of computers. It comprises of a natural and relaxed position, providing opportunity for movement and from which the operator can assume a number of alternative positions. It is not a single rigidly defined position. Technique. Typing is a physical activity and using keyboard requires skill. Hence, the need to learn correct typing technique. Unskilled hand and pick typists are particularly at risk of occupational overuse injury because they often use only one or two fingers, which may overload the fingers tendons. Are constantly looking from keyboard to screen to keyboard, which may strain neck muscles, often adapt to a tense posture, wrist bent back, and finger poised to strike. Speed of keying. The efficiency and speed of modern computers makes it possible for skilled operators to type extremely quickly. The capability reinforced by workload pressure means the potential exists for operators to key at speed which may cause or contribute to occupational overuse syndrome. The role of the preventive movement in injury is not fully understood, but it is believed to interfere with the lubrication capacity of tendons and the ability of muscles to receive sufficient oxygen supplies. 10,000 to 12,000 kstrokes per hour is considered an acceptable standard. Length of time on the keyboard. The maintenance of a fixed posture for long periods is tiring and increases the likelihood of muscle aches and pains. In addition, for long periods of repetitive movement and sustained visual attention can also give rise to fatigue-related complaints. It is recommended that the operators avoid spend more than 5 hours a day on a keyboard duties and no longer than 50 minutes per hour with a postural stretch break. Points to remember. So, computer's ergonomic guidelines. Viewing distance, the monitor should be 2 to 2.5 feet from the child's eyes. Time at computer encourage children to use their physical energy. Sit and height posture. The child should sit high enough to have his arm bent at 90 degrees. Pause, footrest. Use it to prevent dangling feet. Mouse, find one that fits small hands. Keyboard, child size keyboard with light pressure keying are recommended. Control hazard risk. Controlling hazard and risk. All workplace hazard, chemical, physical, or etc. can be controlled by a variety of methods. The goal of controlling hazard is to prevent workers from being exposed to occupational hazard. Some methods of hazard control are more efficient than others, but a combination of methods usually provides a safer workplace than relying on only one method. Some methods of control are cheaper than others but may not provide the most effective way to reduce exposure. The most effective method of controlling hazard is to control at the source by eliminating the hazard or substituting a hazard agent or work process with a less dangerous one. Before thinking about what control measures are needed, first you need to know whether there are health and safety problems in your workplace and if so, what they are. How can you identify health and safety problems? Here are some ways you can identify health and safety problems. So, one is observe your workplace, investigate complaints from workers, examine accident and near miss records, examine sickness figures, use simple surveys to ask your coworkers about their health and safety concerns, use checklists to help you inspect your workplace, learn the results of inspection that are done by the employer, the union, or anyone else, read reports or other information about your workplace. Once you recognize a hazard, then you can determine which measure will correct the problem most effective. Generally, there are five major categories of control measure: elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, and personal protective equipment. Eliminating a hazard means removing it completely. An engineering control may mean changing a piece of machinery, for example, using proper machine guards or a work process to reduce exposure to hazard. Working a limited number of hours in a hazardous area is an example of an administrative control for the job. For example, job rotation and personal protective equipment includes ear, eye protection, respirators, and protective clothing. Elimination. Elimination of a specific hazard or hazardous workplace or preventing it from entering the workplace is the most effective method of control. Eliminate hazard at the development stage. It is important to consider that the worker health and safety when work processes are still in the planning stage. For example, when you're purchasing machines, safety should be the first concern, not cost. Machines should conform to the national safety standards. They should be designed with the correct guard on them to eliminate the danger of working getting caught in the machine while using it. That are not produced with the proper guards on them may cost less to purchase but cost more in terms of accident, loss of production, compensation. Unfortunately, many used machines that do not meet safety standards are exported to developing countries, causing workers to pay the price with accident hearing loss noise. What is meant by elimination? Elimination is the process of removing hazard from the workplace. It is the most effective way to control risk because the hazard is no longer present. It is the preferred way to control a hazard and should be used whenever possible. What is substitution? Substitution occurs when a new chemical or substance is used instead of another chemical. Education and training. Employee education and training on how to conduct their work safely helps to minimize the risk of exposure and is critical element of any complete workplace health and safety program. Training must cover not only how to do the job safely, but it must also ensure that workers understand the hazard of their job. It must also provide them with information on how to protect themselves and coworkers. Good housekeeping. Good housekeeping is essential to prevent accumulation of hazardous or toxic materials. And emergency preparedness. Being prepared for emergencies means making sure that the necessary equipment and supplies are readily available and the employees know what to do when something unplanned happens, such as release, spill, fire, injury. These procedures should be written and employees should have the opportunity to practice their emergency response regularly. And I think that's ends for our topic or discussion this morning. So thank you for listening and God bless.